What's up, you guys? My name is Kevin Montes. I work in the financial industry, specifically selling final expense life insurance, mainly over the phone. Over the past 18 months, I've been able to go from $14,000 a year in income and sleeping on my mom's couch to, well, so far this year we've cleared 120 grand for the year, and we're not even in September yet. So made some pretty big improvements, and what I'm hoping to do is to take our the last 18 months of lessons, mistakes, successes, everything that we've learned, and condense it into a couple videos that hopefully you can get some value from. So now, as someone who's gone from 14,000 a year to 120,000 a year, one thing that I can tell you is no matter who you are, whether you're a brand new agent who hasn't even sold their first policy, or a seasoned veteran, whether you've been in the industry for a month or 50 years, one thing that doesn't change is this business is hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's why we get paid so well. If it weren't as hard as it is, you wouldn't be needed, and you definitely wouldn't be getting paid as well as you do. Matter of fact, if you're not getting paid well, it's because you're not good at the job yet, and that's okay. That's why I'm hoping these will help a little bit. So no matter where you're at, this does get hard. No matter how good you get, there's always gonna be days where you don't sell shit. All right, so this past week actually is a perfect example. I definitely had some days where I didn't sell anything, and you'll even have weeks where you almost don't sell anything. So just to give you guys some perspective, I'm used to selling about 5 to 7 grand a week, and this past week was not it. I sold a total within the last, well, not including this week, but 7 days of last week, I hit 1,500 annual premium. I sold 2 applications. My overall close rate for last week was 7%. Not even 7%, it's 6.9%. Oh my God. That is terrible. That is so bad. All right, look, it happens to everyone. Again, it doesn't matter how good you get, that's never gonna go away. But what I wanna share with you guys are 3 things that I do to prevent myself from falling into an actual sales slump and letting myself become discouraged by those types of weeks. So the first thing that I do is I create a thing that I call my minimum standard of excellence. Now what this is it's my standard of how much activity I need to put in as a minimum, as an absolute bare minimum, to be able to feel like I gave it my all. So it's gotta be measurable, right? I wanna make that very clear. Preferably a numerical kind of target that you can set for yourself, and something that you can hit on a daily or weekly basis. I like to do mine on a weekly basis. Now I'm going to give you some examples in a second, but I do again want to make it very clear, this is not a goal. How many times have you set yourself a goal of hitting $5,000 in a week? Or let's say you're like, this week I'm going to do $3,000, or this week I'm going to make a sale, right? If you're brand new, this week I'm going to make 3 sales. Then you don't hit it. And then what happens to your confidence? It's not good. Because whenever you don't perform, or whenever you don't fulfill the promises that you make to yourself, you're actually starting to tell yourself, damn, I'm not the type of person that fulfills the promises that I make to myself. Now, having a minimum standard of excellence, that's how much needs to be done. I don't forget what I want to do. How much do I have to do as a non-negotiable? Meaning I don't care what happens, I don't care what comes up this week, I am absolutely going to hit this number. Now it cannot be over ambitious, it's gotta be realistic. If you've never sold $3,000 in a week, then your target should not be $3,000 in a week. Probably shouldn't even be $2,000. So as an example, I typically do 5 to 7 grand a week in sales, right, in annual premium. And my minimum standard of excellence is actually 4,000. So that means I don't care what happens, but I have to make sure that I hit that 4 grand. Now I didn't hit that last week, but I'm not fazed by it, and I'm gonna get to why in a second. So that actually brings me to the second thing that I do, is setting multiple benchmarks for that MSE. So I like to set multiple targets that I can hit, so that if I don't hit one, well, I've got others that I can fall back on. So now I like to set myself 4 targets per week, and as long as I hit 3 out of those 4, then I know that I gave it my all, right? And I did my part. So I'm gonna give you an example of mine. So my 4 benchmarks that I set for myself is I'll either do 2,000 dials per week, all right? So that's phone calls that I make, 30 hours of dial time, all right? Dial or talk time, 4 apps per week, or $4,000 in annual premium. That's my minimum standard every single week. All right, so again, I like to hit 3 out of the 4. So that means, let's say I don't sell 4 grand a week. Well, if I hit 3, so if I did my 2,000 dials and I stayed on the phone for 30 hours and I wrote at least 4 apps, maybe they were just baby apps, that's fine. You know, I can't be mad at myself for that. So I hit my minimum standard of excellence and I hit my benchmarks. Now notice that I said last week I didn't hit the 4,000. So here's the thing. Last week I just moved to Vegas, so I only had half a week to work. So I had to be realistic with myself, and so I set myself a part-time minimum standard of excellence. So I'm on the screen. I'm going to show you guys. I have three different I don't know, tiers, I guess, of standards that I set for myself, and it depends on where I'm at. So usually it's the one in the middle. The reason I'm not doing full-time right now is because I'm not selling full-time. I'm spending a lot of time training, onboarding, right? Mentoring other agents, developing leaders. And so I've had to limit myself from 40 hours of full-time selling to, you know, just over part-time basically. That's where I'm at right now. If you don't have a team, right? If you're doing this full-time and you're a full-time producer, you should definitely strive for that full-time benchmark. Now, if you're just getting started, then that's where the part-time benchmark is. And so on really busy weeks or whenever I have something like, you know, really crazy going on, I'll actually put myself there. So this last week, those were the benchmarks that I set for myself. So it was 1,500 dials, 2 apps, 2,500 AP, or 20 hours. So I actually hit 2,100 dials. That was a lot of dials. I did 24 hours of talk time or dial time. I wrote 2 apps and only 1,500. So you'll actually see I did over 1,500 dials. I did over 20 hours. I wrote 2 apps exactly. I did not hit my 2,500 AP. I hit 3 out of the 4, so I'm in the clear. I did what I could do. So I get to walk away from that week feeling like I won regardless. I didn't hit my sales goal, but guess what? I'm a winner anyway, because I did the shit that I told myself I was going to do. I did it, and I can feel great about it. No matter how bad my week was, I'm a freaking winner. All right, and lastly, that leads me to the third thing, is focusing 100% of my efforts into things that I can control. So the way that I see it, and I might change my opinion on this later, but the way that I see things now, sales are not in your control. You can't control how much you sell on a weekly basis. I mean, what if you're just in front of, you know, what if everyone that you sit with is just medically unqualified, for example? I know that's very unlikely, but it's not impossible, is it? So I don't like to focus on that, because the output is not something that I can fully control. I can do things that'll make it more likely to hit those goals, but it's not directly controllable. So I like to focus on the direct activity that I can control that will lead to that outcome. That's why I hit, so besides the 4 apps and 4,000 AP, those are the outcomes that I want to have, right, for my minimum standard. But I have these other 2 that are 100% in my control, which is how many hours I put in and how many dials I do, because those are 2 things that nobody can take away from me. I don't care what comes up. I don't care how bad my week is going. I don't care. I don't give a shit about anything. I am absolutely going, if I say at the beginning of the week that I'm going to hit my 30 hours and my 2,000 dials, I'm going to make 2,000 dials and I'm going to work at least 30 hours. I don't give a shit when I do it, but it's going to be done. Those are in my control. And the reason that's so important is because I have to hit these targets, because when I do, well, what does it do for me? It builds up my confidence. It builds up undeniable proof that I am the type of person that if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. That when I say I want something, I'm gonna get it, right? When I put my mind to it, it's gonna happen. See, I have a level of confidence now that I didn't have 18, 19, 20 months ago. That's the difference between $14,000 a year and tracking for 200 grand. It's the level of confidence that I've been able to build because of the undeniable proof that I have that I keep the promises I make to myself. See, I heard this quote from Ed Milet once. He says, "I'm willing to do what others won't do, so I deserve to get what they can never have." And that's the level of confidence that holds me through those tough times. And I'm able to bounce back like that because I don't go into the next week feeling like a loser. I go into the next week feeling like a winner regardless. And that confidence, that peace of mind allows me to stay on the phone, to not have commission breath, and to serve the client to the best of my ability, not worried about a thing, to be present in those conversations. And those are the kind of things that allow me to sell more. So in short, the 3 things that I do that have helped me push through those tough times: setting a minimum standard of excellence, having that mindset that no matter what happens, I'm going to get it done. It's not an option. 2, setting multiple benchmarks, right? So not just having a goal, an overambitious goal, but having actual realistic standards, multiple, so that I can hit 3 out of the 4 and come out feeling like a winner regardless. And 3 is making sure that I focus on the things that I can control, because there's no point in trying to worry about anything else. Doing those 3 things have built up my confidence, and it's been able to push me through what Andy Frisella calls them test days, right? Those are the days that your character is tested, your discipline is tested, your commitment to your goals, all of that is tested, right? You don't know how strong your commitment is. You don't know how loyal you actually are until you've been tempted to cheat, right? You don't know how strong your faith is in God. You know, if that's your thing, you don't know how strong your faith is until that faith has been tested. So those days, they don't even build your character. I know people say hard times build character. Hard times don't build you. They reveal you. They show who you really were all along. And so I like to know that I'm the type of person that can stick it out. I love those test days because I know that while I'm staying focused and I'm still going, right? I'm still putting in work. The people around me, when they have these kind of days, they're quitting. They're not selling policies. And guess what? When they're not selling policies, I am, right? When they're not talking to my clients, I'm on the phone talking to them. So I'm making more sales because all those other agents that I'm competing with have given up. That makes me feel good. It pushes me through those days, and I hope that it helps you do the same. So I hope that helps at least a little bit, and I will see you guys in the next video.